Sunday, September 11th. Ladies, get ready for the most anticipated event. Brooklyn, New York. Get ready for Party Bad, the brunch edition. It's Party Bad, the brunch edition. Featuring live Problem Child, Mr. Legs,
from my riches I session, I jump
Vaughn,
alcohol, bumpers and things.
Lava Man, Looney Spark and Electrify, Temptress, Job King, Talfree, Inspector, and Alma Boy. Hosted by Blackstorm and Big Boss HD. And coming to turn the party all the way up, it's Ringo Starr and Father Bentley. The Vibes Unit, back to basic, elegant sound. G-Blade, DJ Synergy, Shiny Golden Touch, and Drills International. Get your $50 tickets now. www.partybadbrunch.eventbrite.com. For ticket info, call 347-831-3748. Going down at 704 Nostrand Avenue. It's Party Bar, the brunch edition. Dress code chic and starts from 2 p.m. till 9 p.m. Remember, Sunday, September 11th, Party Bar, the brunch.
How you doing? What's up, guys? Welcome to the ride. Welcome to Thursday on the ride. First of all, let me apologize. But listen, it wasn't even my fault, right? Quick and simple, it wasn't really my fault. I decided to take a quick run down to the city. Very early, by the way. At about 1 o'clock, I said, I'm going to go to the city. I have to pick up a new camera. You know, just to upgrade the program. Just upgrade the program now. I said, let me run down to the city and pick up a camera by B&H. I went there, guys, and I should have known this because on the way there was so much traffic. But I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. I'll be back in time. Went to B&H. It was, let me tell you, I spent so much time in there because there was so much people there. Came back now, realized that there is a ton of traffic on the way back. And it's like everything moving in slow motion, guys. Everything moving in slow motion. And I know that I promised you guys that, of course, Jerry Edwin will be on the program today. Because we have to talk about transformation. We have to talk about the Royals. We have to talk about all of this stuff. Very important day today. And traffic like mad. Traffic like crazy coming back into studio, guys. I wanted to pull across on the side of the road and just do the program right by the side of the road. And I honestly wanted to do that. But I didn't have my van and I was in a car, so I couldn't do it. We wouldn't feel comfortable. So I just delayed the program. So I apologize, guys. I'm a little bit late. My guest, however, Jerry Edwin, he's always on time. He's here. Yeah, he's here. Thank you guys for your patience. We appreciate it. A lot happening, guys. So much happening in the news. Before I bring on Jerry Edwin, let me just announce, a lot of things happening today, guys. Queen Elizabeth II passed away today at the age of 96. Yes, guys. And that broke the internet today. Of course, they made the announcement about 2 hours before she passed away. And the announcement was that doctors was very unsure about her health condition, right? And someone posted, something probably happened because they probably knew that way in advance. They probably knew that since yesterday. And they just posted it today. But guys, very sad. A lot of people in mourning in England. The Royals. Another royal, well, you could say he's royalty, right? Kirani James claimed trophy once again. So big up to Kirani James, Diamond League. Big up to Kirani James. They say he's King James. And by the way, that's the third time. Kirani James won in the Diamond League. So big up to King James. Big up to Kirani James. Always making the Spice Isle proud. Big up to Kirani James, guys. And yeah, well, Kirani would have won the Diamond League champion in 2011, 2015, and again 2022. So once again, congratulations on the big victory. Kirani James stormed at 44.26 in the 400 meters. King James, big up yourself. And we have to another bit of royalty news, guys. Queen Elizabeth's son, Charles, will rule under the name King Charles III. And that was confirmed earlier today. So much stuff. So much developments today, guys. So much things. Yes. So many things happening. What? Talk about a hero instead of King James. But I know you guys don't want to hear none of that. You guys want to hear from Jerry. Just wait, hold on. Jerry's coming. Jerry's coming. Jerry's here. See him right there? Always here, always on time. He's right there. He's coming. He's coming. Got a lot to talk about. Got a lot to chat about. A whole lot of stuff to talk about. My friend, how are you doing, Jerry Edwin?
I'm just living, brother. Good evening, and good evening to your audience. Good evening, everyone.
Yes. Jerry, we're always happy. We're always delighted to have you on, in fact. Seems like every time we have this conversation, it's always a viral conversation. It always seems like Jerry Edwin is always on the ball of trending. Or whatever is trending, Jerry is just there. You're just in the middle of everything that's trending. It's a good place to be.
But I must say, your headline reminds me of the New York Post. They say that if you want to catch an audience, make sure you wag the dog. Yes. But I am not so much criticizing the government as much as critiquing where they are. No. So I hope that's the way we can proceed.
Right. Well, we were talking about transformation. But before we get to that, Jerry, we're talking about the Royals. Today we lost Queen Elizabeth II. It's a day of mourning across England. A lot of people who really in support of the Royal. What's your take on all of this?
Well, it's not a secret that I have been vocal for the last 40 years about my general anti-monarchy position. And let me say that I take this broad-based. If I were in the Egyptian kingdom or the Akan kingdom, I will be an anti-royal. So the term royal does not only apply to the British crown, but I think to all systems of monarchy. I strongly oppose. Monarchies are dictatorships.
Yeah.
Let us say that. They're not they feed off the publics. They have no, it is their inheritance. It is the chief's son. It is the prince who gets to feed off the table of the hard work of the people. And so I generally take a position where I am severely opposed to all forms of monarchy. I'm sure Elizabeth was a good person. I don't have anything personal against the royals, but if I were a Kikuyu from Kenya, I would have a position that would be different from the people of the United Kingdom when it comes to the way that they mourn the passing of Elizabeth. I imagine there are festivals in Kenya among the Kikuyu once they remember the way that Britain, with the blessing of the crown, murdered tens of thousands of them in the name of British expansionism in Kenya. So that could be said for all over the former British world. We can say that it is with some regret that Elizabeth, before she died, did not lend her voice of kindness, because that is how she projected herself, to at least apologize for the role of the crown during the period of enslavement. It's very unfortunate that did not happen. I think that she would have been viewed today in a very different light. Her posture, her stature, her legacy would have been elevated had she done something as simple as, to the people of African descent, to the people of the African and Atlantic world, we apologize for the role that Britain played in the slave trade. But nothing like that has been forthcoming.
Well,
but may she rest in peace until a day of judgment.
Yeah. You know, it reminds me of an interview that I saw that you did on the BBC, because you're an international man. You were speaking about the reparation and what the reparation should look like if people of the if that have to be a package that have to be sent. In fact, I have a clip of that quick clip of that interview. Let's check out Jerry Edwin on the BBC. Just a few months ago.
And Countess of Wessex have encountered protests against British colonialism on the second leg of their Caribbean tour. Edward and Sophie are on a tour in the region to mark 70 years of the Queen's reign. They did receive a warm welcome on their visit to St Vincent and the Grenadines, but there was a small demonstration calling for compensation over slavery. Well, the Wessexes postponed a visit to Grenada just shortly before arriving in the Caribbean. No explanation has been given for the decision. Well, let's get some reaction to this. Jerry Edwin is an attorney activist. He's in St George's in Grenada. Many thanks for joining us, Jerry. There are two things happening, aren't they, in the Caribbean at the moment? There are calls for independence, for the Queen to step down as head of states in some Caribbean countries. We've already seen that happen already. But there's also calls for the past to be addressed. We don't know why the Earl and the Countess of Wessex postponed their trip to Grenada at the last minute. But we do know that there's a lot of things you would like the royals to do. Could you just explain what you would like to see the royal family do?
Well, it's really, I'm privileged to be here, and I don't know that I could really convince the royals, but I want to say that from where we are in the southernmost Caribbean island of Grenada, we want to say that we sympathize with the royals to have inherited an institution that has treated persons who have been Catholic, if I may, forgive me, in their allegiance to everything British, requires, I think, for the royals to recognize that pain, that the beneficiaries, people who look like me, scattered throughout the islands and London, Leeds, all over Manchester, the British world. What we want to see again is the soul of Britain the same country that said, we will not have enslaved persons on our soil. That was so comforting for people who fled the horror of 17th, 18th, and 19th century slavery. So we'd like to see the soul of Britain again. And that is not to commodify this relationship at all. That certainly would prolong something that is horrible. But we would like the royals to show us that they feel our pain, not merely apologize for it.
And how would you like them to do that? We know there have been demands on the British government, not the royal family, to compensate for those who were affected by slavery or even died from slavery. Is that what you would like to see?
Well, we've seen schemes of reparations, for example, when the Kaiser compensated the Namibians. And we've seen that German Jews, rightly so, deserved to be compensated for what they lost. But we're not talking about a disparate group. And I don't think that commodifying this, saying that there's some pecuniary value to it. We'd like to see things that are more tangible, meaningful, transfer of technology, return of, I don't want to call them artifacts, but participation, for example, in building museum and memoria, not in London, but at the scene of the horror.
Okay, Jerry, no, I realized that you wasn't hearing me. You wasn't hearing me. You said something there that I wanted a little bit of clarification in. When you said you sympathize with the royal, just explain that a little bit more for me.
Well, it is clearly a play on words, yes? The sympathy we feel for the royals is that they've been born into a life of privilege without any understanding of how people like me and people like us who have inherited this existence in the Atlantic world. What, in fact, it's something that Meghan, I forgot her, I call her Meghan, the one who's married to the fellow who left the palace. You may recall that in her interview with Oprah, she said that the firm, as they are called, live in a sort of bubble where they cannot even make their own choices,
right,
where they are not even free to have their own opinions. One must sympathize with people who are not as free as we are. We may not even think of it that way, but to live in a bubble where your entire life is managed, who you will marry, who you can socialize with. I remember her husband saying that he felt such incredible freedom leaving Buckingham Palace and leaving the House of Windsor, at least, if not in name, but certainly by marrying this Canadian-American girl and being common people. After all, she was a commoner. Imagine the terms, huh? So one feels a sense of sympathy that they cannot even express their view with something as humane as the reparations project. After all, the British Parliament have taken a position on it, but the royals, their voice is muted.
Who should be responsible? And this ties in to the transformation conversation that we're going to have, right?
Yeah.
If then, who is responsible for the reparation? Should it be the royals or should it be the government? We have the head of state, which is, you know, the Queen and the royals, and then we have the government of England. Who should be responsible for the reparation?
Well, clearly the moral voice of the United Kingdom is the House of Windsor.
Right.
It is the Crown. That's the moral voice of England. But in terms of resources, clearly it's the British government. For example, Junior, I live now on a parcel of land that was owned by the president of the Bank of England.
Right.
And he had some at the high point, I think it was 121 slaves, enslaved persons. He received reparations. In fact, there is a museum at the Bank of England today where you find all sorts of papers, all kind of letters between himself and the people in Grenada who ran that estate. Well, in 1835, I think, because the emancipation occurred in 1834. But at around 1835, he was compensated some 700,000 pounds, I believe, by the British government. But the people who gave their labor received nothing. I mean, this is an old story that we all know. So the British government, having emptied its, well, not emptied, but having opened its treasury for the slave masters, certainly, given the fact that we received nothing, and I want to recommend to your audience that they read Sir Hilary Beckles' latest book, How Britain Underdeveloped the Caribbean.
Right.
It's a play on Walter Rodney's earlier book, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. This book is titled How Britain Underdeveloped the Caribbean. It's a fascinating read. At the time of independence, Britain gave the Caribbean £1 million a year for 5 years for all of the Caribbean islands to develop the University of the West Indies, our hospitals, our roads. I mean, it was an insult. And Sir Arthur Lewis, the St. Lucian economist, actually chided Governor Moyne when he came down in the 1830s, and they actually made this offer of £1 million a year to the entire English Caribbean countries. Of course, we had to make lemonade out of thin air. We didn't even have lemons.
Right.
But we have managed somehow to arrive at this point today in our history as free people, struggling with no resources, but still hanging on to the petticoat of Elizabeth and the royals. I think I'm going to bring it up today because this is as good a time to say that the government of Grenada's transformation agenda must and should include something to get us away from the British Empire, such as it exists. Dominica has made that move, but they still have retained parliamentary democracy. So you see, we can have the political culture that our people are used to, even as we chart our own political independence. Certainly that is what Trinidad and Tobago led with. I think it was in 1975. I'm not so sure when they became a republic, but you remember Trinidad was the first in the English Caribbean. But I think that this is how we transform Grenada, transform our consciousness of our people, and move to see a different future for ourselves. I've heard nothing about that. But I have some items I think that should be included in a transformation agenda, and I have heard nothing to indicate that the government of Grenada is moving to transform anything. No.
Before you get it, Jerry, so based on what we've seen, the government of Grenada been there for say about 2 months or so going forward, and within that time they were able to do a number of things. One of which is they were able to pay back the teachers, the dock salaries from the teachers.
Wait a minute, just stop there for a minute. Stop there for a minute. The Prime Minister of Grenada acknowledged that the only reason he paid back money to the teachers was for industrial peace. because he recognizes, Mr. Mitchell is a very smart young man. He recognizes that this was outside the law. But for the sake of industrial peace, he gave this pancake to the teachers.
Okay. What about the government plans, the initial plans being there for such a short period of time to move forward in the paying back the pension and gratuity within a space of that 2 months, and all the plans that have been in place? Is that transformative to you, or is there anything that have been planned so far, have been done so far, in your view, that is the government transformation?
No, no. I mean, clearly the repayment of the pensions, I think it will create a financial debacle for the government. But I am not in the Ministry of Finance. I don't know what is in the Treasury. If they believe they can pay these millions of dollars, already a lot of money is going under the COVID relief, but that's grant funding. So that was part of a global package that went to other countries. But I mean, if they can pull off the pension, I mean, that will be tremendous. I don't think that's transformative. That's what people were entitled to. That's what the law actually called for, right? And the prior administration had said that they were willing to sit down and talk to the unions to see how they can come up some rapprochement, some kind of negotiating so they can pay the pension. I think that what people say during a political campaign and the reality that arrives once you step into government could often be very different. And so I don't see the payment of the pension as transformative. I think it's overdue, and some portion of it will be paid if the government has the resources. That's not transformational. If you want to transform, let me say this. We are now in the field not of politics. We are in the area now of governance, of public administration. And when you speak of public administration, there are two things you're discussing or you're looking at. You're looking at structure and function. That's public administration. And in order to change, to transform administration, to transform the way you do things, you operate that public administration, you must do what is called networking administrations. That is, you have to set up a different structure to replace the one you are transforming. I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard that persons with this skill set have been contracted to assist the government on this transformation agenda. Because let me say this, Junior, I want to be clear. In a political campaign, one says and makes all kind of promises. Sometimes we often remember George Bush, the first George Bush. Read my lips, no new taxes. He got into office, what did he do? He brought in new taxes.
Right.
So I think that what must happen, and I thought really that in the 100 days after winning the election, that the government, this new government, and I'm going to use a word that I hope people don't take it as pejorative, and I do not intend it to be, but they are self-admitted neophytes. They are new to this, is not their sport. They are new to this game. Only one of them, I believe, has any experience in government, right? The others don't. So we see, for example, the government ministers acting as though they are still campaigning. I was actually quite surprised to see that the government, at least the party that the NDC, I get mixed up because during the NDC time, NNP people told me I was NDC. And during NDC time now, people tell me I'm NNP. So I'm willing to stand in the middle and just take my blows wherever it comes. But somebody has to speak truth to power.
Right.
Because in Grenada, this is not our tradition, Brother Junior. In Grenada, nobody speaks truth to the government for whatever reason. I don't know if it was with T.A. Marichau's time, of course. He started chanting down colonialism and Crown Council government. Gary came in 1951, and this is just a short précis. Gary came in 1951, and for a while there, we had real freedom for people to speak. We had the Torchlight, the newspaper of the opposition, vigorous. We had, by the 1970s, when I became conscious of the world as a young schoolboy at GBSS, we were able, not openly, we had to go underground with our expression of disagreement with the government. And I am suggesting to you that starting with Gary, continuing through the revolution, up until the present time, this culture of openness, of people speaking, forgive me, I have a client who forgot their telephone.
Yeah.
We haven't had this freedom. People don't feel free to speak and express themselves. So the free expression is seen as partisanship. And I really thought that the current government, when it took office, I actually took them at their word.
Right.
I did not believe that the NDC would continue, for example, to hold NDC events every Saturday on the Carenage. They're having breakfast, they're having lunch. I mean, I'm sorry, the NDC should recognize that its business now has ended. The party is responsible to the government, and that government is responsible now for governance. You look all over social media. There is talk about eliminating the evil from among our midst. That is the NNP. But let me get back to my point. In transforming public administration structures, you've got to go to what are called networking organizations, because you are transforming the way things are done to create something new.
I think, Jerry, before we go deeper into this conversation, I think we should establish your understanding of the word or the terminology transformation. I think we should start from there, right? Okay, wait, did we lose Jerry? Jerry, did we lose you? Okay, we lost Jerry. Jerry will come back in. Guys, and we're also giving you guys, everyone, an opportunity to chime in at any point in time if you want your voice to be heard on the topic. We lost Jerry. Jerry, I'm sure, is trying to reconnect with us. We got a call on the line. We're going to go to that call a little bit, guys. So we're talking about the transformation agenda. We are talking about the government transformation agenda. And Jerry's saying that he doesn't believe that the government, the new government that's been in place for about 2 months now, has done anything transformative as of yet. Again, some people might say, well, it only has been about, 2 months or so. Nevertheless, okay, Jerry, you back with us?
I am, but it appears that you have some feedback from me.
Right. Okay.
Can you hear me?
No. That's fine. Hold on one second. I lost you there, but I just reconnected, and I had a call that I wanted to bring on really quickly. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Right. Again, guys, we open up the phone lines and you could jump in and chime in at any time. We got a call on the line. Caller, live, where you calling us from?
I'm calling from Grenada, Junior.
Yes, Grenada.
I'm listening. Yes, I'm listening to your program, and for a moment, I thought your guests was somewhat out of touch with what is happening in Grenada. I don't know if he can tell me whether or not he is in touch, because I want to draw his attention to where he came from, where he spent many of his years in the United States of America. Will he go to the United States and tell the Republican Party or the Democrat, for example, knowing that they're in power, that's the Democrats, not to have fundraisers and not to have events and activities? I thought that was ludicrous on the part of Jerry Edwin to talk this nonsense on such a big platform or a popular platform. Further to that, Jerry seemed to be bitter and sour over something that he's not telling us. We have seen the NDC campaign openly stating clearly to all of our people that once they come in, pension will be restored, gratuity, you will get your gratuity and your pension. We saw that happen. We also saw the NDC saying, look, we're going to include women, young people in the governance of the country. We have seen that. In the parliament, look at the composition of the parliament. You talk about transformation. Before the parliament was a parliament of aged people, senior folks. You have young people, you have young women, you have young men as part of the parliament making decisions. They are no longer folks who would carry finger foods and coffee and so on for the old men. They are now making decisions around the table. Not only that, just look carefully. Public officers, workers across the board, they are free, they are happy. They have received a dock salary that the NNP administration took away from them, and they're extremely happy, right? You saw the situation with CC and what transpired. This government, the NDC, is pro-worker, pro-people. People are liberated, people are free. So if he wants to see transformation, well, maybe he can just go back in the past. Go back to Gary. Go back to Keith Mitchell. Maybe that might be something that he loves. But I am simply saying, look, that's the worst guest you have ever had on your program, Junior. And I want to be frank. This guy sounds as though he's out of touch. And as a lawyer, he sounds, if I have to get a lawyer to represent me on any matter, I mean, I would not choose Jerry. Jerry sounds like a lunatic in my view. And to be respectful here, look, I have to use the word. He sounds like a damn lunatic. He's talking things that are, look at the comments under the program. Right. Nearly 99% of the comments are negative against this guy. He needs to go and kind of, check himself.
All right. Let's give Jerry an opportunity to respond. Jerry? Okay, we lost Jerry again. Jerry seems to be having some connection issues. Stay tuned, guys. Jerry having a little bit of a connection issues, but he'll reconnect and respond to the conversation and be a part of the conversation that we're having here, right? Kem, stay on the line, Kem. As soon as he come back on, I want him to respond. Okay, he's back. All right, Kem, Jerry, you back.
Thanks. Well, one expects, Mark Twain. I don't know if the last caller has heard of Mark Twain, but Mark Twain said, and he was very famous for American writer. Many people remember him for Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer, but he did much more. He was known as one of the greatest voices of dissent in the American empire. But he said that, Mark Twain said that when everybody agrees with you, or when you seem always to be going along with the majority, then something is wrong. Mm-hmm. Now, I am not a partisan of any political party. I don't think, for example, the last caller said something about that transformation, an indicator of transformation to him is the age of the people in parliament. Well, that can probably speak for itself. What I'm saying structurally is that when you are looking at, and I know the caller, and the caller is not educated in this area, so hopefully some humility may visit him so that he could understand the point I'm making. That in public administration structures, in public administration organizations, you must look at function and structure in order to transform. Mr. George asked for a definition of transformation. Mm-hmm. Transformation is a remaking, a removing, a redoing, something new. At least that's what Oxford says. It is something new and not just finite changes, but radical change is what transformation means. Now, the young people in government now have just gotten there. I understand that. They cannot transform or get to that transformation agenda for probably not another 2 years. But I think it is the job of the adults in the room to say, hey, here are some items that you can include in your transformation agenda. For example, in the Fisheries Act, in the Forestry Act, I'm a lawyer, so forgive me, I'm going to stick with the law. In the Litter Act, in the Criminal Code, we can, with the stroke of a pen, the Attorney General, the Minister of Legal Affairs, when Ms. Joseph sits in cabinet, at the next Parliament meeting, we can have radical change, transformation in our Fisheries Act, in our Forestry Act, in our Criminal Code, and our Litter Act. No, in our Fisheries Act, it requires, now this is everyone would agree. Oh, you know what our largest export is in Grenada? It's fish. That's the largest sector we have that exports anything. Right? In the Fisheries Act, the Chief Fisheries Officer is required to file an annual report. Who can tell me when was the last time a Fisheries Act senior officer actually filed a report? Because that would speak to the levels of fishing, the state of the fishing. It would anticipate the future of fishing. It would make recommendations to the sector. But that would come from the Chief Fisheries Officer. And that has not happened in the last administration,
Right.
not in the 10 years, and not in the 5 years before that. I think that's a good way for transformation to start. Mandate.
Could that transformation be done within the 2 months period that the new government has been in power?
Well, the fisheries officer can be made to file a report. In fact, we are now operating based on where the election cycle falls in terms of the budget. A fisheries officer can actually file an interim report because the government has to come up with an interim budget to last until the end of the year, when they'll actually announce what their new budget is. So that's one way we can have instant change. So we will know the extent to which, because the fishermen are talking about it, the people who sell fish in the market are talking about it. Our stock is declining. But we don't know to what extent. So it's a guessing game. So we need to change that. And I think that could transform the fishery sector.
Okay, don't go to the next one. Don't go to the next one yet, Jerry.
Yes.
Let's step in right into this one. Let me take a call. We got a caller on the line. We're waiting for a little bit. Caller, where are you calling us from? Hold on. Caller, where are you calling us from?
Hello.
Yeah, caller, go right ahead.
Hello, Junior. Yes. It's Mosquito Man here.
Yeah, go right ahead, Mosquito Man.
I'm listening. I'm listening to the program, and I'm not gonna. I'm gonna say these things without any apology. You're Attorney at Law Jerry Edwin. I mean, I respect his profession and so forth, but I myself is a bit bitter. You understand? Because the government that we have the party that we have in power right now, which is the NDC-led party. When you talk about transformation, when you talk about transformation, I want to believe that the attorney does not understand what it means by the term transformation. So I think he should look it up and maybe try to comprehend fully what it means by transformation. When you compare the NDC government now and the government that.
Go ahead, Mosquito Man.
Right. When you compare the NDC government and you compare the NNP-led administration before, it is safe to say that the attorney practically, together with the NNP administration, gets satisfaction seeing people in the trial and state of Grenada, Carriacou, and Peter Matnick suffer. You understand? So when you look at NDC, NDC has what NNP took 2 terms to do. NDC came and they are doing it in less than. You understand?
Like,
So
but can you tell me what you're referring to?
Yeah, but here's the question. I guess the question that Jerry Edwin is asking.
What are you referring to, brother? What are you referring to?
Yeah, well, I would like for the attorney to understand the term transformation. You understand? Because transformation, when you talk about transformation is a process. It's a process. You don't get transformation to just occur one lick like that. It's a process. You understand? That is just my preference. There is so much I could say, but I don't want to say.
Can we have a little talk? Can we have a conversation, brother?
Jerry, you could respond.
Oh, okay. No, I mean, we're not dealing with transformation in a vacuum. This is a government. This is public administration, a public administrative structure. For example, could we transform our environmental policy by using the Ministry of the Environment? Or should we not look at what our friends in Antigua and Trinidad have done? In fact, we don't even have environmental laws in Grenada. What we have is draft legislation. And we've had this law through the last NDC, through the 2 NNPs, and of course, now under the NDC. We do not have environmental laws. And in the NDC manifesto, it is said that this is a key, the environment is a key element of their manifesto. What we need in Grenada, and what the Trinidadians, it's not me saying this, the Trinidadians realize it. Our friends in Antigua realized it. What we need actually is a directorate. And that's what we can, you see, these ministries are archaeological structures. They are ancient. You cannot make changes and transform a public administrative structure relying on ministries. So one of the advantages with directorates, and I think the environment, let's call it the Ministry of the Environment. What we need to do is to transform the Ministry of the Environment into a directorate so that what we have are professionals staffing that organization. You see, in the same way that we have GARFIN, GARFIN is made up of professionals who regulate the financial sector. They regulate money services, credit unions, insurance, and similar businesses, right? There are professionals, not political appointees, not civil servants, but professionals. Trinidad has seen, as a result, groundbreaking legislation in terms of disclosure to communities about what corporations are doing on the Twin Island Republic that actually forced this issue, and it brings me to another area of transformation, a public information law. No, you can say that, as one of the guests said, that it's age of persons that is transformational. I mean, that's bollocks. What is transformative are policies, changes in policies, changes in structures, changes in function of organizations. That is what transformation is. It's not a
To
slogan.
that part here, Gemma is asking, say, Junior, let your guest outline what he thinks should be done to transform Grenada in 2 months period, and a number of areas that he thinks that needs to be transformed.
It is impossible. When you've had Grenada became independent in 1974, we had universal suffrage in 1951. You are not going to transform Grenada with people who have, well, with anyone in 2 months, much less young people who have been in government and have never even been there before. They don't know the shape of the road, right? They are learning on the job.
Wouldn't that be a plus because they come in with fresh ideas, which would be different than the ideas that was there before? They come in with transformation. They come in with different perspective of looking at things.
When I ride a plane, I want an experienced pilot sitting in that cockpit. Yes? So should we have a mix of young blood and old? That's surely, I think that's more preferable. But it's not for me to say. The people of Grenada have spoken, and they have chosen these young people to lead the government, to lead us. And let me say this. I so want them to succeed. You know, I was looking at my NIS remittances, and to those naysayers who think somehow that, you see, for one to come on and who is not a partisan and just offer an opinion, you know, it raises the hackles on certain people's back, because this is not a tradition in Grenada. In Grenada, we don't have regular dissent to the governing party. That's rare in Grenada. And anyone who thinks different, give me the evidence, because I'm certain I cannot be contradicted. It doesn't exist. I was looking at my NIS remittances, and we've spent over $1 million just in salaries in the last 10 years. All of our money is spent in Grenada. I want to see Deacon Mitchell and his team succeed. And I hope it's not the case where, you know, if you want something to work, tell it to a politician publicly. They will never do it. I remember telling Oliver Joseph, the last Minister of Trade, that Grenada has this huge diaspora. I used to be there. And I thought that's something that could really radically change the relationship between Grenada and its diaspora, is for Grenada to negotiate an income tax treaty with the United States. The only country in the Caribbean that has one is Trinidad, right? No, an income tax treaty is critical for persons who are retired and they move back to Grenada. They are getting their pensions from the United States. Well, according to the relationship between sovereigns, when income is earned, and that is seen as income, if you are going to remove it to Grenada, you have to pay something like 15% tax just to get your own money. I remember telling Mr. Joseph about this. He scheduled a meeting and it never happened. Right. I think that this government, I mean, where we are right now is that the government should be asking not for persons to serve on boards, forgive me, but for citizens to suggest ways to transform our governance,
Let's take this call. Let's take this call. I think we still have the same call on the line. Mosquito Man, you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
You wanted to respond quickly?
Well, I am listening. I am listening, and you know, to be quite honest, everything that the gentleman is saying, I'm trying to understand, but I'm having difficulties understanding all what he's saying, because it still boils back down to what I'm trying to say, right? We had, and I just want you to permit me, we had an administration that served 2 terms. All what the gentleman is saying now could have happened under this previous administration, right? Now, the way in which I am hearing and I'm putting it together, how the gentleman statement is coming, It's as if he want the NDC-led administration to get everything done now.
But you know, he didn't say that, brother. He never said that. This is not what I said. So please, just
no.
Listen to what I said.
I've listened to you. I would like for you to listen to me. Any queries, you could take it up when it's your turn to speak.
Yes, sir.
You cannot expect to get everything done now.
I never said that. I did not say that.
Check for example, under the NNP administration, so
why
much
are
has
we
been
talking about the
happening.
NNP?
For example, Fisher Hooks. No. I'm only telling you because they are the longest. There was the longest.
Why are you talking about the NNP? We want to transform.
I am only telling you. I am telling you.
You don't live in Grenada. You don't live in Grenada.
Jerry, hold on a second. Hold on, Jerry.
I want to stop you people from doing this. Let me say this. I want to stop Junior, let me say this. Let me say this. If I am saying that I do not expect transformation to occur in 2 months, but I am offering a roadmap as to how transformation can occur, you don't have to bring up the NNP. Because the NNP, let us forget about the NNP. Let us think about how these young people in government can be assisted in transforming Grenada. And I'm suggesting that there are several areas in which the transformation can occur. I am saying we have not yet seen any signs of a transformation agenda. We've heard talk of a transformation agenda. I'm saying there are no indicators of how that transformation could occur, and I have some suggestions.
Right, and
I would like.
Okay, Maskema, wrap up pretty quickly because we have to take
I would like for Mr. Jerry Edwin to sit back and wait and allow the NDC administration to do what they have to do.
Okay.
Instead of because you see, you do not even have the testicular fortitude to even embrace what is about to happen. So you sit back and allow the government to do what they have to do. That is my 2 cents.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, for chiming in. We got another caller that I want to bring on right now. Again, guys, 718-701-5720. That's 718-701-5720. We're chatting here live with Mr. Jerry Edwin, who is a lawyer in Grenada. We're talking about transformation and time for transformation and how long should we start to see the actual transformation of various sectors. Jerry come armed with a whole bunch of ideas which he thinks that could be possibly implemented by the government that could be transformative, right? While we wait, okay, the caller is in right now. Let's take it. Caller, you're live.
You have a caller. To accept the call, press 1.
Right. Caller, you live. Where are you calling us from?
Right. New York.
New York, right ahead.
All right. Well, calling from New York.
Yes. Listen to me on the phone lines. Turn your background all the way down. The TV or the radio or where you listen to us on. Turn it all the way down and just talk to me on the phone.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm a little disturbed by people that taking a hostile approach to anyone who is critical of any government.
Right.
Of course, that is. Now, I listened to Jerry utterances, and he mentioned something about the Minister of Legal Affairs can go into Parliament with a stroke of the pen. He was talking about fishing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we are members of several regional and international organizations that control fishing. As you would know, Jerry, fish is a migratory species. You cannot just conserve just between our waters, and you may learn too that Grenada has not yet established its exclusive economic zone. So basically, we have not yet determined
where our fishing boundary lies. So that is one we have to settle on, and that's because of the close proximity within the islands. We do not really have that exclusive economic zone well established. However, we are member of CITES, ICAT, and the world, the Whaling Commission, which I should say. I think Jerry had some great ideas. I think the best place for Jerry ideas is to sit down with government and offer some critical advice. I am disturbed I did not hear you mention judicial reform, because as you know, that the court system, which you as a judicial officer is in a mess. And I would have loved to hear you make some recommendations as to alternative sentencing, bail reform, overcrowding in the court. The situation where one magistrate was sentencing people for matters that did not call for custodial sentencing. I would have loved to hear you offer some recommendations of that, and then give in all honesty, a honeymoon period. A legislative agenda by any government requires consultation. It is not something that you can just run to. They just had a ceremonial opening. Some of the things that you have mentioned requires putting together a comprehensive legislative agenda. They have not yet rolled out that. So I think it's rather unfair. It's too quick. Let's sit in the pavilion and wait and see what happens. And I want to say to some callers, the composition of parliament with young people is not necessarily transformation. We had an election, the people spoke, and they determined who they want to represent us for the next 5 years, and I think that's what it is. We have a democracy. So I pray that I will hear Brother Jerry Edwin elaborating and in the areas where he has some expertise, judicial reform, because our court system is in a mess. And we saw what happened during the Harbor Massacre. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Batiste.
You know, I think this caller has highlighted some very important areas. In fact, some of the two of the items I have, in fact, all of the items I have here have to deal with, for example, the Fisheries Act. I'm not talking about harvesting, which is what he's talking about, the boundaries and so on. We have to finalize our agreements with Venezuela. Venezuela's boundaries are like the snake that crawls through the entire Caribbean Sea, reaches all the way up to Antigua, the areas of the Caribbean Sea in which Venezuela claims that it has an interest. But I'm actually, I mean, the last caller said we should sit in the pavilion and wait. I will wait, but I speak truth to power. At least I try. And I'm saying aspirationally, what I would like to see. In the Litter Act, for example, Junior, it says that only a police officer who sees someone throw trash can actually arrest and fine. Only a police officer. Do you know what the fine is for littering? $500. There is no policeman in Grenada that will bring someone to the court and charge them with a charge of $500. There's no magistrate. In other words, it's like the seatbelt law. What's the fine? $100? Immediately enforceable. Immediately. That's realistic. We could clean up St. George's tomorrow, all of Grenada tomorrow, instead of having these people going and cleaning up after persons who treat our environment like a pigsty, right? With one stroke of the pen, we could simply lower the fine on littering and immediately have a change in our environment. With the stroke of a pen, we can replace these archaeological relics called ministries with directorates. We can have a health directorate. After all, these are professionals. In the environment, in the Ministry of Finance, we can have professionals. I mean, that's the kind of thing that I really hope that we will see as part of the transformation agenda, because I think it is perceived. I think to me, no. 100 days after you're in office, you come to Parliament and you should tell us what you have been doing for 100 days, what is your budget timeline going forward, what do you hope to accomplish in the medium term. Forgive me, I'm impatient, because these archaic ways of doing things that we have seen since 1983, when the NNP government had a mandate like no other government of Grenada has had. We've seen absolutely no change we don't even have, as I said, an environmental law. And Grenada was the head of the small island states for, I think, 1 or 2 terms. And Grenada does not even have an environmental act. We have a former minister of the environment who is now the head of climate change at the United Nations. And everyone is looking at this. Most of the experts around the world, at least the non-governmental experts, are saying this is a joke. Because while this fellow was in Grenada, and I refer to Simon Steele, while he was in Grenada, he did nothing for the environment. All right? So that's one of the areas of transformation I would like to see, in the area of certain laws, in the environment, and certainly in the area of banning flogging. For those of you who believe the NDC is transformational, please be advised that in October, this government will be going to the courts to defend the slavery era practice of beating you the way the slave master did. Now, if you want me to sit in the pavilion and wait for them to change, of course I won't. I'm going to fight this law. But I think it's the urgency of the moment. We've had a decapitation of public disclosure in the last 2 administrations. Grenada has no whistleblower law. We have no public information law. I'm saying there are low-hanging fruit, Brother Junior, that this government can immediately use or snap on to transform some things in our economy.
Bernadette is asking, have you ever sat with anyone in government, in the new administration, to offer some of your transformational ideas? Because what I'm hearing that you're saying, that you have this ideas of that could be implemented by the government. No, there's nothing wrong with suggesting ideas. And I think the NDC by themselves doesn't have a monopoly on ideas. And the Prime Minister said it recently in a speech that, come with your questions, come with your hard questions, come with your criticism. So I think that it is good if, with ideas that you have, with the transformative ideas that you have, might make sense in some aspects, might make sense to the administration. Have you ever proposed it or spoke to anyone?
Maybe if this will take some time. That's not the way Caribbean governments operate, right? Governments, I have never, ever, despite, so I could give you, I've sat down and talked with the smart people of Grenada. I think Grenada per capita have more PhDs than anywhere else in the Caribbean. But of course, they will not speak. I've sat down with a number of persons, discussed ideas, and we presented to the last administration. Where do you think it got us?
Have you presented to this administration?
I have sent emails to this government since the 24th of June. But they're busy. I should sit in the pavilion and wait. They are not going to get answered. That's not the way governments work, Junior. It is the public arena that one must put out their ideas and the government decides if they're going to accept their ideas or not. That's not the way it works. We have to understand how politicians think. Right? In these small islands, we don't have, listen, the government and let me talk about the party. For example, the NDC party or the NNP party. Within their own organizations, they don't even have anything that resembles a think tank. They don't even have interest groups within their government that sits down and it does not work that way. It's almost like an echo chamber. They speak to themselves. You know, I was thinking of the midterm budget that the Minister of Finance may want to propose in the short term before December when he has his new budget. And I wonder if he has considered using the consultants who are available to advise him. You see, government ministers are incapable, and we go back to transformation, to transform public administration. It does not work. You need subject matter experts, persons who understand public administration, because you're talking about changing organizations and changing policy. If a politician has to do that, their first impulse is the politics of it. It takes tremendous will to transform. We're not talking about changing. We're talking about transforming, creating something new. And for persons who do not have experience in government, they must put their trust in experienced subject matter experts, persons who know how to do this, people who know how to change government. So that's the kind of suggestions I would put into the public domain, because it is impossible for no government minister. Look, I made a comment about my friend, the very capable attorney, Sister Claudette Joseph. And I had a concern about the rule, something she had said about, firing persons because they didn't follow the agenda. And I thought I would have a private conversation with her and with other senior members in the party. And so I raised it with them first. I'm still waiting for a response. But when I couldn't wait anymore, I decided to ventilate my thoughts.
Right.
Because that's what one should do in a democracy. And I want to say again, all of us want this government to succeed. And none more than me. All your listeners in New York, they are very comfortable in New York. They don't have, as my friend, and I'm so glad he's in the Ministry of Finance advising the minister, Richard Duncan. Richard Duncan says, you got to have skin in the game to really put, you got to have skin in the game. Well, I have a lot invested in the success of this government. And I'm not going to be silent about it. I'm not a partisan. I'm not there to pat them on their backs. That's for persons like the ones who are calling and many of the listeners here. People have different roles. I see my role differently.
Right. Stick up in there, Jerry. We got a call on the line. Call it live. Where are you calling us from?
Good evening, my dear Grenada.
Hey, Grenada, go right
I
ahead.
want to ask.
Good evening, ma'am.
I want to ask you, do you know how much damage has been done to this country for the amount of years? Do you think it's right as a legal professional person to come on the air and tell us that we really cannot help you? As a legal person with that capability, sit down and have a talk with the Prime Minister or whoever, come in and talk about that. I don't think we get to know with that, because it's most bashing you're gonna get. And if you have something to say to the government, do it legally as a legal professional person. I don't think what you're saying there, I don't understand much of the things you're saying, because you're all over the place. That is my concern. Legal mind, do legal things in a legal way. And you told one person, don't talk about NNP, but you did call the name and don't go down this NNP road. So because they gone damaged, a lot of damage have done over the years that will take a long time to fix. But we're gonna get there eventually. Thank you.
What damage has the NNP done? What damage? The NNP, in fact, the Prime Minister has said he found a right treasury so he could carry out his agenda. What damage? It's just an election. An election has happened. The people have spoken. They got tired. The NNP, the former Prime Minister, whined himself right out of office. He didn't take these young people seriously. He didn't understand the change that Grenadians were asking for. So we have a change of government. What damage? Grenada has a program of debt management under the former government. That is the model which Barbados and Jamaica have embraced. We have stakeholders, civilian stakeholders, who sat with the government and decided how we are going to manage our debt. What damage was done to Grenada?
Guys, we open up the phone lines and taking your call, 718-701-5720. Jerry Edwin putting forth his transformational ideas. Jerry, I really think, again, I don't think that any government would object new ideas and advice, right? If some kind of way you could get the ear of the government and put forth some of your ideas, because again, as I said earlier, no one has the monopoly on good ideas.
No, Julia, let me be clear.
Yeah.
I am not in the business of advising government. I'm in the business of giving my ideas as a citizen. The government, not this one, not the one before, not the NDC before. In fact, I remember when we proposed.
Okay, Jerry, I lost your audio there. Jerry. Let's take this caller. Caller, live, where are you calling us from?
Calling from Grenada, Junior.
Hey.
Are you hearing me clear?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, I mean, Grenadians have to listen and understand. Okay, a lot of people who are actually commenting on your program are not really contributing anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I believe Mr. Edwin, Jerry said a lot, which is very important. I mean, people have to realize you brought him on your program and pose certain questions to him, so he has to answer. And basically what he says is, your politician doesn't make change. You need directorate and you need people who are experts in their field. I mean, the only thing I take issue with him when I believe he's wrong, he said, yes, NNP did no damage. That NDC meet a full treasury, but NNP actually destroy all the institutions in Grenada, which have to be rebuilt. You understand? So Grenadians should listen. And instead of criticizing, learn to make contributions. All the people are criticizing up to now, not one of them has made a contribution, you know. What they want to see done in Grenada. You ask a gentleman a question and he has his right to his opinion. And as an educated man, I mean, they should listen and they should understand. I mean, Jerry, I mean, well done. And have a good night, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, now we firmly believe that, I mean, I like listening to different perspectives. And I don't think anyone should surround themselves with people who only tell them exactly what they want to hear, what they think that they want to hear. So I like listening to people that comes with innovative, fresh ideas. All right. And Jerry comes with that fresh idea. Some people might say that he is job seeking. Right. But I think that proposing the idea, Jerry, especially the idea of transformation in the court system, I think that is something that is necessary and needed at this point in time.
Junior, let me stop. Let me stop you.
Hold on,
Let me
I'm not hearing you, Jerry,
stop
for
you
some
about
reason.
judicial reform.
Jerry, hold on. I'm not, for some reason, I'm not hearing you.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Go ahead, Jerry. Keep talking.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
I was going to respond to this issue of our courts.
Let me see if I'm hearing on
and
live
judicial reform. I don't know if you could hear me.
For some reason, Jerry, I'm not hearing you. I'm not hearing
I'll
you.
go back
Jerry, let me rectify. I know your audio is coming through.
George.
I could see your audio, but I'm just not hearing you. So stand by.
I can go back. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Hello, caller. Hello. Hello. Hello, caller. All right. Caller is got a little bit of cold feet. Yeah. So guys, we need to listen to different ideas. We need to listen to different perspectives. We need to listen to different people with different, that comes with something different than how you believe. That's how we learn, right? All right, Jerry, try again.
Yes, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I think someone says perhaps you can hear me.
Hold on, Jerry.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to try to fix your audio. Okay, caller, you live? Hello? Hello? Caller, listen to me on the phone. Listen to me on the phone line, caller. All right, they're calling me and they listen to me on the TV, and there is obviously a delay, and she's calling back again. Let me just talk to her real quick.
Okay, I'm gonna get
again,
off.
guys. When you call,
For more options, press star.
Caller, are you there? Hello? 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 Caller, listen to me on the phone. Have a phone conversation with me, not on the TV. You're not gonna. There's a delay. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Caller, listen to me on the phone. Listen to me on the phone. Listen to me on the phone.
Hello?
Listen to me on the phone. Could you hear me? All right.
Hello?
Caller, are you hearing me?
Hello?
All right. She's lost. All right.
I don't know. Can you hear me, Julian?
Yeah, what you say. Jerry, go ahead and speak. Jerry.
Okay, good.
I know the audience is hearing you. I'm not hearing you, but I'm going to try to fix my audio on my end. Go right ahead.
Listen, it is not, we have to understand the nature of partisan politics, especially so early after an election. I have a client and he said to me in January, he said, Mr. Edwin, everybody asking for an opposition. But if everybody asking for an opposition, what will happen is we're going to get a new government. I hope the NDC ready to run things because they are going to win the election. And, I would tell you this, the day after the election, it was something spiritual. The air felt lighter, right? It felt so new, like something different had happened.
Right.
And with the wind in their sail, I think all of us now want to see this new government succeed. But that does not mean that all of us, certainly not me, will sit in the pavilion, yes, and observe. Again, I am invested in the success of this government. I so want this government to succeed. Now, many partisans cannot distinguish between criticism and critique. So if we are offering a critique on what could be transformative, all the partisans, the supporters of the NDC, all they will hear is criticism. But I want to talk about this issue of judicial reform because I think we hear this. I mean, you know why I know this issue so well?
Mm-hmm.
Because I lived in New York for 44 years.
Right.
And I had the opinion that there was something wrong with the judicial system. The court system in Grenada doesn't work. There is something wrong. Let me tell you this. I have not seen a court system as efficient as the CCJ in Trinidad, the Caribbean Court of Justice, and the Court of Appeal in St. Lucia, which manages the courts from Antigua in the north all the way down to Grenada in the south. It's a very efficient court. Do courts have problems? Of course. I have a very simple case in the surrogates court in Kings County since 2015. And in that time, we've had judges fired. One judge was fired because she called her, she said, "You Jewish people, you want to control everything." Before the afternoon, she had to clear her desk and was out as the surrogate in Kings County. We've had foolish motions brought by other parties. The problem with courts is universal. It's one of perception.
Right.
Courts are about hurry up, get to the court, and then wait. So, it takes time for things to happen in the courts. And from my experience, the courts here are very efficient. Someone mentioned before sentencing. Well, and sentencing reform and alternative sentencing. This is something Mr. Ferguson is invested in. This is something we are working on. Courts are like democracy. You have to keep tweaking it. You have to keep tweaking it to make it better, to suit what the time demands. Yes. So I don't have any brief with the court system here. Maybe I'm biased because I'm working in the courts. But from the outside, it seems that way, that everything in America and in England is much better than what's in the islands.
Right.
Yeah? But that's the furthest thing from the truth. Can the government do certain things in the courts? Well, the government can only impact administrative features of the court system. Because as we know in a democracy, there's a firewall between the judiciary and the legislative branches of government. Yes? So, I don't think that there's much that the government should do to interfere with the courts as they exist. We'd like to have a proper courthouse, obviously. We have one of the best mediation programs in the entire Commonwealth. Yes, here in Grenada. So the system is not as bad as many persons who live outside Grenada and perceive that only great ideas exist outside Grenada. That is not true at all. That is not true at all.
As I said, Jerry, I like different perspective, and you come with some ideas, which I hope that the administration should at least listen to. And if it's a good idea, good proposal, see what could be take in, and probably they wouldn't like everything, but I definitely like the fact that you have ideas and you're coming with ideas, and I think that those ideas should at least be ventilated. I brought you on here so you could at least share this ideas that you have with our audience. I don't think that is foolish or dumb. I think that it is relevant to talk about these things. And we appreciate you coming and do that. Jerry, I know you had a couple other things, so you could go ahead on your list that you wanted.
Junior, I would like the government to really look at transforming these ministries into directorates. One of the problems we've had, for example, in agriculture, is that you've had the experienced person. You talk about a neutered. You talk about a ministry that is stripped bare of professionals. That's the Ministry of Agriculture. With everything you hear being said about agriculture, if you drill down and go inside the ministry, we haven't had a professional forestry officer for more than 10 years. When suggestions were made by myself and others to the last government. I mean, they just laughed us off, right? No, I do not anticipate, and let me say this. This government, these people are my friends. These are people I admire for putting themselves out for public service. But once you have done that, and this is the arena that you're in, we are still friends. But now you are open to critique because you are not managing a friendship club.
Right.
If the government of Grenada fails, it's not like a shop or a grocery store that runs out of items. It's everybody in Grenada. We will suffer. So one of the good things about the public space and with social media is that persons can ventilate ideas to the most important stakeholders of all. It's not the government, it's the public.
The public, yeah.
Yes, sir. But
Yeah,
I have other ideas. We will continue to talk about them. We think the Litter Act should be changed so that the fine is more realistic, and just in the same way we have traffic wardens, we should have litter wardens. We should have litter wardens. We should stop flogging persons. This is something that should come off the books right away. One stroke of the pen, and Grenada will know. Grenada has the distinction. Let me say this. Grenada has the unhappy distinction of being the only country in the Commonwealth, except Singapore, that flogs its citizens. Right? When I came here and I heard that we were still doing this, I spoke to Mr. Clouden and he said, boy, I tried everything to see what we could do. So we joined arms together with Mr. Ferguson, Mr. Lane, and others to see what we could do to change flogging. I think that this says that we put people first. Ban flogging, take it off the books, stroke of a pen. Our Fisheries Act actually has, I mean, listen, I could go on forever, but let me end by saying this. Good governance is a science. Transformation is a science. In our Fisheries Act, I think it's one of the only laws we have where we have public participation. In other words, in the fisheries law, if I see a person fishing out of season, I can report them. And then there is an incentive, a financial incentive. Our government now says that empowerment of people is equal to worker rights. Let me say this again. Empowerment equals worker rights. Well, that's a bit of algebra that is quite troubling. Because empowerment, as it relates to governance, emphasizes participation. People must participate to transform. That's what empowerment means. You cannot have empowerment without participation of people.
Right.
Now, again, partisan in Grenada, we are deeply partisan.
Yeah.
You either NNP or you NDC. And you cannot even offer out an intelligent critique without one side or the other throwing bombs at you.
Yeah.
So I know one's back has to be able to stand up to all the criticism. But I'll end by saying this. I am personally invested, financially invested, emotionally invested in the success of any government that sits at Mount Royal and occupies the administrative seat at the Botanic Gardens. And this is the NDC government that I want to see succeed.
Right.
I'm not in government. I'm not in any political party, but I will continue to hope that this government makes wise decisions in the interest not only of their party and their supporters, but of all Grenadians.
Right.
That's the reason why I accepted your invitation.
I have just about two things that I could propose as transformative as well, right? I would like to see, and I mentioned it the other day, in our villages and tongues, we have small parks and fields, and these parks and fields are named after colonizers. I would like to see a strong proposal that changed that, where we could call it parks and the fields, even some of the streets, after some of the people that passed through, that came through, or role models or sportsmen or women within those neighborhoods. I think that that is very, very important, and I think that's something that should be probably done forthwith. I also, when you drive around the country, one of the things that I envy when I go into St. Vincent, every time you reach a new town, you see a big sign that says, welcome to this town, welcome to that town. There's signage all over, right? I know the former administration spoke about it, but it has not happened. You have to know the place, right? Foreigners who come in, they want to know where they're there, or they're in a village or whatever. We don't have that. So a strong proposal need to be put on the table to put signage up where people could know where they are. It's good because the foreigners and the returning nationals and people that travel to Grenada, they're asking for it. They're begging for it. So the government knows that. So I would like to see that as a transformative idea. I don't know if that is a very transformative idea. It sounds very simple, but an idea that they could take and make happen as well. Before we go,
in all fairness, Junior, there are all of the historical sites in Grenada. There's signage for them. There's not signage for towns, but for the historical sites, for the lake,
no, I'm talking about villages. I'm talking about passing through villages.
Yes. No. You know,
like you're driving through St. Vincent.
It's something that really, I mean, that's low hanging fruit. That's not transformative. That's just something that's
it's probably not, but it's something that is needed. We got a final caller. We got a final caller on the line. Hello, caller. Hold on, caller. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
But if you can hear me, I will speak.
Okay, caller. Okay, you're on speaker. Hold on, caller. Listen to, hello. Hello. Are you hearing me? Hello.
It doesn't matter.
Hello. Hello, caller.
Not.
Caller is not. Caller, are you hearing me?
I put it
caller.
like he said.
Caller. Check.
But my thing is, if you really want to get something done, it doesn't matter. You have to be persistent. If it really means that your opinions or ideas can help your country, you're supposed to be able to, it's the same way like a parent, no matter how a child is, they still will want to make sure that he or she gets it right. So if it means turning up at the office of the Prime Minister, the now Prime Minister and his cabinet, seek an audience, I don't think that the young man will want to turn him away. It doesn't matter if you don't want to take what he says, but at least you can get a listening ear. And if we continue this way where, you know, that the politicians are this or politicians are that, and we never push ourselves to assist, it doesn't make no sense come in and speak on a program, and then when you have an opportunity, you don't do what you think is the right thing.
Okay.
So I think Jerry should meet with the Prime Minister and his cabinet, set up a meeting, sit down, and whatever they can get out of it, at least he will make his contribution to his country. That's just my take.
Okay,
Thanks,
caller, are you hearing me now? Caller, hello? She just wanted to say what she had to say, and that was it. All right, we're going to wrap up here. Jerry, we appreciate you coming in, sitting in the hot seat. It's always a hot seat when you're here, but you handle it well. If I should say so myself.
Next time you come home, don't let me just see you on the big catamaran.
Hey.
That's just profiling. You know, stop by.
Yes.
Have a drink with a friend.
Yes. Next time, I promise.
Okay,
I'll be there.
All the best and good night to your audience.
Thank you so much, Jerry.
All right.
Jerry Edwin. Yeah, I'm happy to call him my friend. Let me tell you something. People have a lot to say about Jerry Edwin, but Jerry Edwin don't afraid nothing. Jerry Edwin come out and he speak his mind and he say what he had to say, and who like it, who don't like it, he don't care. That is how Jerry operates. But seriously, guys, I think what Jerry Edwin is saying, essentially, my takeaway from what I heard, is that the he's looking to propose additional transformative ideas to the government because he doesn't want to see the administration fail. I mean, I don't think anybody wants the administration to fail. At the end of the day, if the administration fail, we all fail. Yeah. So I'm thinking that he wants to put forth his ideas, and hopefully it reaches someone, because he tried probably contacting them privately. That didn't work. So coming on a public forum and speaking about it, we all know that politicians, possibly the prime minister, is on the live right now watching. You never know. He's a big fan. How you doing, honorable prime minister, if you're watching? And other ministers are watching as well. So that might be an area where he could get his points across. Now, the other thing I was saying, guys, we can't always surround ourselves with people who are just telling us what we would like to hear. No, we can't grow like that, man. We have to bring other voices within the midst. We need to hear from other people. We need to get different perspectives, man. Yes, I firmly believe so. And we can't always criticize people who tell us things that possibly that we don't like. We sometimes have to respectfully agree to disagree. How about that? I hear you, brother, but I don't particularly agree with you, right? I don't want to disrespect you. I just don't agree with you. And this is how I see it. You see it differently, right? Because I have my ideas as well I would like to see. I would really like to see, whether it's transformative or not, whether it's not transformative, I would really like to see more signage that's up in the villages. I would like to see more the names of people in the villages. We spoke about that before, right? Before we could start talking about head of state and changing head of state and becoming a republic, there are some things, some grassroots stuff, some low-lying fruit stuff that we could do in our community before we start talking about the big stuff. I would like to see that primarily and initially transform the way how we feel, how we think, not how we feel, but how we think. Transform the way how we think about each other, how we feel about each other. And that has to do with a whole, probably a 360, like a whole re-education of ourselves. And one of it starts with programs like this, having a guest on here that a lot of people don't particularly want to hear, but still, you might say, yeah, you know what? He make a good point. Yeah. I don't particularly agree with you all the time, but you make a good point. I agree with you. But some of us afraid to even say that because we just don't feel the person. We don't like what the person's saying 90% of the times. So 100% of the time, you're not going to listen to him. Nah, I think we should be a little more open than that. All right. Lord, let me see what Gemma is. Let me see what she's saying. So nice. Just be honest with you. Many of all you want the damn government to fail. Junior, all you unfair. NDC had a town hall meeting where everyone were free to ask any question. PM Dika Mitchell is very accommodative. All you two. Okay. NNP parasites and vultures. Who is she speaking to? Gemma, who are you talking to? I should have not even read that post. Anyway, I don't know why I read that post. Tell you the truth. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it was always great. It's always good having conversations. I got to tell you about this, guys. Coming up here in New York, where is the flyer? They sent it to me just a little while ago. Where is it? I know I had it. Let me find it. All right. So The NDC New York chapter cordially invites you to dinner with the Prime Minister of Grenada, Honorable Dickon Mitchell, and that's on the 17th at 8 p.m. Tickets $200. That's goes down at Glen Terrace, right? 5313 Avenue N, Brooklyn, New York. Yeah. 5313 Avenue N, Brooklyn, New York. For ticket and more information, you could call 347-432-4665 or 347-528-3038. And that's, again, that goes on the 17th, 8 p.m. Tickets, $200. If you want your ticket, the Prime Minister is going to be there, and that's in New York. The NDC New York chapter, you call 347-432-6963 or 347-528-3038. That's in New York. What else is happening? Oh, Mr. Legs, yeah, is having a big event. It's called The Brunch, and that goes down on September 11th, this Sunday, September 11th. It's going to be a massive event. Let's hear more from the commercial. We'll be back.
Hey, September 11th, ladies, get ready for the most anticipated event, Brooklyn, New York. Get ready for Party Bad, The Brunch Edition. It's Party Bad, The Brunch Edition. Featuring live Problem Child, Mr. Legs,
From my riches, I need session. I don't
Vaughn,
Alcohol, bumpers and fail.
Lava Man, Looney Spark and Electrify, Temptress, Job King, Talpree, Inspector, and Alma Boy. Hosted by Blackstorm and Big Boss HD. And coming to turn the party all the way up, it's Ringo Starr and Father Bentley. The Vibes Unit, back to basic, elegant sound. G-Blaze, DJ Synergy, Shiny Golden Touch, and Drills International. Get your $50 tickets now. www.partybadbrunch.eventbrite.com. For ticket info, call 347-831-3748. Going down at 704 Nostrand Avenue. It's Party Bar, The Brunch Edition. Dress code chic and starts from 2 p.m. till 9 p.m. Remember, Sunday, September 11th, Party Bar, The Brunch.
This carnival is special one at Spice Isle Jewelry. Get up to 40% off our collection of silver and gold jewelry with purchases above $115. Visit our 2 locations on Grenville Street, St. George's and Spiceland Mall Grand Dance and see our fine selection of traditional West Indian bangles, necklaces, earrings, rings and our unique handmade pieces. Step into Spice Isle Jewelry and shop in air-conditioned comfort with friendly, helpful and courteous staff. We also pay the most for scrap gold. Our repair service is second to none. Treat yourself or someone special with something special from Spice Isle Jewelry. Serving you since 1986. Call us on telephone number 440-3155 or 440-6648. Sale ends August 31st.
Canadian products are now only a mouse click away at GrenadaMarket.com. Nutmeg and guava jams, jellies and the syrups, world famous nutmeg pain relief spray, black sage, soursop, lemongrass and bois bande bar. Ordering is simple and friendly. All major credit cards accepted. Safe, secure shopping guaranteed. GrenadaMarket.com ships your product anywhere in the world. So when you can't go to the island, the products off the island can be sent to you. Just log on to www.grenadamarket.com and experience our quick delivery and homely service.
Well, it's on the right along, so it's happening here.
Came over here. What does it mean? You know, I grew up in what I guess you call a typical family.
We break all the stories, and that's just a fact. And that's why everyone has a story.
story to tell.